to have a voice. Will you please welcome on stage Neuro Pride? Hello! I'm going to say, what's your name and where do you come from?
I'm Keir from Dublin.
That's okay, Keir. That's allowed. From Neuro Pride. All yours.
So thank you for inviting us to be part of your Pride celebrations today. And I welcome everybody, regardless of your neurotype, to come and say hello to us over at our lovely tent just over there. And come find out more about Neuro Pride or take time to chill. So, as I said, I'm Keir. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm an organiser of Neuro Pride Ireland. And I, like the rest of the Neuro Pride Ireland organisers, just so happen to identify as queer. So, I want to take this moment to thank Clonmel Pride for taking the steps to embrace neuroqueers of our overlapping communities. Before I begin ranting, I just want to start by saying, firstly, we at Neuro Pride embrace the word queer. I understand not everybody does, but for us, queerness is an inclusive umbrella term that encompasses a rejection of the cis-het-allo-normative society. So I hope you accept that. Secondly, I want to make it very clear that this is not the oppression Olympics. I'm not by any means trying to say that we are more or less oppressed than any other cohort of LGBT people. I'm merely highlighting some of the struggles that affect the neurodivergent queers that you may not be aware of. And together, hopefully, we can move towards creating a more inclusive queer community. So I'm sure you can all agree that being seen and included in a community can change your life. But creating communities where everyone is embraced and valued for their authentic, complex, multifaceted selves, well, that can change the world. And at Neuro Pride Ireland, we recognise that neurodivergent people are disabled. And you might not know this, but 1 in 3 to 1 in 4 members of the LGBT community are disabled. However, we're regularly expected to leave those parts of our identities at the door when entering queer spaces, just like many other multiply marginalised community members. That's why it's been heartening and empowering to see the queer community begin to step up to the promise it holds to not just tolerate difference, but to celebrate diversity. When we started Neuro Pride, we drew inspiration and courage from the history, the struggles, the overcoming of the LGBTQ+ community. The similarities as well as the overlap of the neurodivergent, disabled and queer communities cannot be denied. Our queer siblings also know what it's like to be medicalized, pathologized for an integral part of who we are, to be treated as deviants and forcefully normalized, to have to watch every word, every gesture just to make sure you don't give yourself away as different. So at Neuro Pride Ireland, we wanted to create a space where we and our neurodivergent peers could be ourselves and live freely and authentically, whatever our neurotype. Neurodivergent people have our own styles of communication, our unique ways of experiencing the world, and even a rich and growing culture. Outrageously, we are told by the world from birth to feel ashamed for not being neurotypical. We are criticized for not showing our love, our joy, our anger, our fear in a neurotypical way. But thankfully, more and more of us refuse to accept shame as our birthright. We are proud of our community and our differences. Community to us is of the utmost importance. Community is recognition, belonging, it is healing, it is empowerment, and it is a foundation from which we can fight back against injustice, inequality, and shame. But we need to fight together. Equality for all, we may say, but members of our disabled community still don't have the equal right to marry the person they love, to start a family or even adopt. But we in the LGBTQ+ community don't talk about this. We don't raise an outcry. We don't make a fuss, because it's not specifically targeted at the queer part of their identity. We tell ourselves it is not our fight. We go along with the narrative that it is acceptable for disabled members of our community to be discriminated against purely because it's in their best interest. We forget that queer rights are human rights when confronted with a body or mind that works differently from the perceived norm. We all saw the damage of the CAS report, or as my friends and I call it, the CAS propaganda. And it's being used by bigots to justify their harmful actions towards our trans community. Here in Ireland today, autistic trans people will be denied gender-affirming care. CAS propaganda is just another example of how our neurodivergencies are weaponized against us in medical settings. Claiming that many neurodivergencies such as BPD and autism means we don't understand our minds, our bodies, or even the mere concept of gender enough to be transgender. Well, as a transgender autistic BPDer, I say it's nonsense. Trans lives matter. Trans rights are human rights, and neurodivergent trans people are far more common than you will believe. Look, I know the fight on the LGBTQ+ community conversion therapy has been a long fight. I've been fighting right there beside you all. But please remember, even if tomorrow it was outlawed worldwide, neurodivergent community members would still be in danger from conversion practices dressed up as behavioural therapies in our schools, our health centres, and even our homes. These practices were created by the same people in parallel with queer conversion therapy and will continue to claim the lives of queer young people and cause most who survive it CPTSD. This is just some of our neuroqueer struggles. We will continue to be forced into the shadows and unseen and off for unless you help us shine a light on these injustices. Let us, the LGBTQ+ community, continue to be a community that fights for the equality of all members, not just during Pride, not just for one day of the year, because exclusion, violence, and inequality is something we experience every day. Let's continue to fight back against those who will mean to cause us harm, those who say there's only one right way to live. None of us exists in a singularity. Don't force our queer identity to silence our neurodivergent voice. Add your voice to the cries of those less likely to be heard. And while we're talking about lesser heard voices, let us remember our queer siblings fighting against tyranny across the globe, especially those in Gaza. We cannot stand in silence while our rainbow family is hurting, because Queers United will never be divided. Thank you.